Peter found this Mastodon thread. I actually didn't even realize it was Mastodon. You mentioned it in the episode that we're about to do.
Yeah.
So it made me realize, like, oh, maybe there's actually something useful on Mastodon. Is that the takeaway here? I don't know.
I'm
Anyway,
afraid so.
fun story, disastrous story, fun story about a disaster that we can all laugh at and associate with. Basically, IT guy predicts disaster happens, everybody realizes it, too late.
Yeah. It's a good, solid bit of Schadenfreude for everybody who's reading.
There you go. I'm not sure if I feel like this next story is the thing that we wish we could do or the thing we hope never happens to us. You shared this. Should I just go straight to the post, or how do you want to set
I'll
this
be
up?
honest. I'll be honest, Mike. And I'm sort of glad John isn't here today. By the way, John, good luck with your issues. We're not going to delve into them, but yeah, good luck. I wasn't paying attention when you just showed it on the screen a second ago, so I don't know what story we've got coming up.
You don't know what story we're doing? Okay. Well, yeah, what are your impressions? Just like going in blind. What would you guess?
I mean, okay. This is just chef's kiss.
You shared it. Now that you know what we're actually talking about, I'll let you set it up.
Yeah.
But I'll leave all that other stuff in, so don't worry about that.
Yeah. of course you will, Mike. I wouldn't expect anything different. This is a guy who is working as like an external company, and I think they're responsible for enforcing some decisions made by the compliance department about kicking out of service devices off a particular network. And they've warned the entire company that this deadline is coming and there's going to be like 4,000 devices kicked off, but another side hasn't updated yet. And compliance are like, it has to happen. And it's just like, well, okay. It starts off in roughly 2 hours. 1,647 devices are about to be locked out of access to the organization. Resources wiped and removed from Intune permanently. I don't know what Intune is.
So the issue is
inventory management.
Intune is Microsoft's RMM tool, I believe, remote maintenance management tool. So probably there's some kind of an MSP providing enterprise IT support to a large company. And basically what set this up is that the clients, legal and compliance departments have a policy that says all of our computers have to be under manufacturer's warranty. And if they're not, they have to be removed from the system. So these devices got to be 3 years old and they worked with the manufacturer to get support extended. Now they're 4 years old, support's going to expire. And this IT provider has had his hair on fire saying, I don't think you guys are paying attention. Your policy mandates that we do this to be in compliance. You're about to have these 1,600 devices completely cut off from the system. All those people are not going to be able to work. Like, you need to pay attention to this. And no one did.
Yeah. It's because they, as an external company, they can see what's going to happen. They can say like, okay, these other people are not paying attention. And we've warned them, and we've gone, over and above what's required of us to warn them. We've told them, and we've told them it's going to happen, cause massive problems. And the compliance department are like, they've been given. That's what kind of amazes me, that compliance have been given that power to enforce this, to say it's going to happen. Which I suppose, if you don't know anything else, that makes sense, right? You want to have everything on a warranty, so. Yeah, let's cut everything off and give everybody plenty of time to upgrade. So yeah,
and I think this is where John has said in the past, like, as the IT guy, you just got to tell them and cover your ass. I think beyond that, like, this guy did not want this to happen. He did everything he could to get them to pay attention to this, and it sounded like
the thread. Go on. I was going to say the thread's on Mastodon, and he provides sort of rolling updates, and he starts off like 2 hours, saying in 2 hours all these things are going to be cut off, and then it's an hour closer, and then it's an hour closer, and then he goes, okay, D-Day's happened, we're just waiting to see what happens, and then he's like, IT are now aware of this, and by aware of this we mean that they are responding to a huge influx
because
of
it has
from,
happened. The devices were removed from the system and cannot connect.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. This guy is genuinely doesn't seem to be enjoying it particularly, although I think everybody else who's reading it is definitely enjoying it.
The story was very well told.
Yeah, he's a professional security writer, I think. So
yeah, we'll put a link. Everybody should go read it for sure. Part of what happened was compliance and legal set this policy. They didn't have centralized IT procurement, so each department was essentially responsible for their own devices, and none of the individual departments wanted to blow their budget by solving the problem. So everybody just kind of was like waiting to see what would happen, and it did.
Yeah. That was one of the key things, right? So nobody wanted to be the people to have a lower budget because they've updated out-of-date hardware and not actually really gained anything. They just maintained the status quo. But if everybody had done it, it would have been okay because everybody would have spent roughly about the same amount. The thing was, the thing that got me about it was the kind of the feeling of recognition of reading something like this. I don't know. I've been in that situation before. Like, are you sure you want me to do this? It's going to cause problems. Like, do you really want me to delete all users who don't have the? Do you really want me to like give admin access to everybody, or do you want me to take away admin access from everybody, or something like that? Like, I think it might cause some problems. Like, no, I'm sorry, it has to happen. This has gone too far, and you're like, are you really sure you want? Like, you do everything in your power to try and give the person who's giving you that order an out, and then it goes ahead and it causes problems, and usually you're the person that gets blamed is the frustrating part.
Oh, absolutely. Why did you let me do this? It reminded me of when we bought the house that we're in now. It was 20 years ago, and you have to have a home inspection. The house has a well, and the home inspector said, "Oh, you've got acidic water," and we said, "Okay, what does that mean?" And he said, "Just something to be aware of." Okay, we're aware. Great, cool. 5, 10 years later, all of the pipes in our house started leaking. Little pinhole leaks all around the house, right around the same time. So we called the plumber. He goes, "Oh, well, that happens because you guys have acidic water." And we're like, "Oh, awesome. Okay, well, I guess technically we were informed we have acidic water, but we didn't understand the implications of what that was going to mean
that's the
5 or 10 years down the road." So possibly some of the people, like he's telling them, "Hey, you got to pay attention." There's like, yeah, we got it. Our warranties are going to expire. Yeah. But I think this is a problem that a lot of, like, I sold IT to smaller businesses. This is kind of an enterprise, but the same idea. It was always very difficult to get a business owner to say, you know, these computers are 3 years old. These computers are 4 years old. They're fine. Why do we need to replace them? But it's because of stuff like this.
Yeah, it's hard because when there's no tangible benefit, stuff like this is always difficult to get through the management. If something doesn't immediately show a profit or an improvement, you know, things like backups, basic security measures, you know, 2FA, especially if it's something that will cause problems. So in this case, it was no department wanted to do it because they would have a lower budget. So there's a tangible negative to doing it, and no real upside that they can see. So yeah, I guess we're all just really dumb humans at the end of the day, and won't listen to. Yeah, tough. But technical debt. That's the other one I was thinking of as well. Like cleaning up tech debt in code is something nobody does ever. You're always like, "I'll fix that later," and then that's the thing about tech debt. You do pay it eventually. It's like a mortgage, right? You know, you get to the point where you have no option.
Which I think that's the point I was trying to make last week when we talked about I think it was actually part of the story about the hack of the League of Legends source code. What was the Riot Games? And John was saying, like, how does it get to this point in companies? And I think that's what I was trying to get at is, like, early on, somebody made a decision that they ended up just living with that left this hole open. And that's what get abused. There were other factors in that case. John was absolutely right about, like, you got to invest in the security, and they didn't have the right policies and all that stuff. But I think so many times that's what happens. Basic form validation. You know, if you don't write it in up front, who's ever going to think to go back and add it later on? You will when it becomes a problem.
That's why these things have to become part of the culture of the company, of like, because otherwise they don't happen. If it's something extra that you have to do, then it's a big project that will probably not get done. But if it's some incremental change that you can just build into the processes, then it's much more likely to not be a problem in the future. Like with tech debt, I read a thing the other day about, sorry to keep going back to tech debt, but there was somebody who had like was it 10%, one Friday every 2 weeks where they just did tech debt. And they got into the habit of like marking things as tech debt so that they could be, it was actually speeding up coding, because they could say, okay, I know I'm going to have a chance to fix this, so I'll mark it now. And then deliberately coming back to it in a couple of weeks. And it seems to work really well for them, but it was just sort of, however you do it gets built into the culture of the company.
Because it'll just keep accumulating. And then it gets to the point where nobody wants to shut down production for 3 months or 4 months to go back and rewrite code that is good enough.
Yeah, or somebody asks you to add a checkbox to a page, and you're like, okay, that's going to take 2 weeks because you have to unravel the code that, you know, the multiple layers of abstraction that are adding checkboxes to a page. Yeah,
I love being told, we don't want to touch that part of the code.
Right. Or the guy that did that is gone now. We don't really understand how it works. Yeah. There's no tests. There's no documentation. There's no comments, and we don't understand the way the code's structured. The thing it teaches you, though, is to, like you said at the beginning, cover your ass. So whenever there's a situation like this where you're like, okay, I can go and add this checkbox, but it's going to take me 2 weeks, or it might break like adding a checkbox might break the whole system.
Which sounds ridiculous if you have to tell somebody that, and we're like, what are you talking about? That's stupid. Yeah, okay, but still true.
Yeah, so you deflect blame, you write documentation, you make sure you've got a copy of all those emails printed out where you're warning people, and that becomes the main thing.
Doesn't matter.
Such a common thing, though.
I mean, it doesn't matter, though. Like you said, you're still going to get blamed for it. I run into this all the time with like data inconsistencies. People say, well, just as long as we know why it's inconsistent, then we can live with that. No, you can't. No, you can't. You just can't. You're going to ask me about it every single day. You just can't. I don't believe you.
I did share this with you earlier, but the thing with the uBlock Origin and its block page, and we try and make it as friendly as possible, but there's still people who don't understand it. And I don't know if I should tell this story or not, because it's somebody who emailed me, but
he already hates you, so who cares?
The last email I got was, hang on, what was this? The subject of the email was WTF. This isn't quite relevant to our story, but yeah. And the message is, who the fuck are you to put blocks on my system? What the fuck? Fix it, in caps. Like, okay, thanks. Sure.
If you tell him to uninstall uBlock Origin, then he'll write you back and say like, well, now why am I getting all these ads?
Yeah, exactly.
People are the worst. And at any rate, this thread is amazing. The guy who wrote it towards the end says, I had no idea this was going to blow up. I'm not at all surprised that it did. It's a phenomenal story, very entertaining, well written. We'll put a link in the description. Everybody should read it. And then it's amazing. Come join us on Discord to talk about it, though.